What's up, Athlete Lab crew? Riz here. Hey, I'm sitting here with Coach Zak Taylor. Many of you are familiar with ZT from our mental performance series. So we're going to do a little kind of Q&A. I'm going to spitball some questions at Zak, talking about Beaver baseball, talking about athletics, talking about all of your journey to reach your highest potential, whether that be college ball, pro ball, whatever it may be, or maybe it's another sport. I'm going to let Zak introduce himself really quick. If you haven't watched episode 1, make sure you go back and watch it. You'll get the full story of Zak and his playing days, his experience, and what brought him to the mental performance side of sport. But I'm just going to kick it over to you for a quick second. Give us a little background, who you are, what you do for Beaver baseball, and what you do with Athlete Lab.
Perfect. So guys, what's up? My name is Zak Taylor. I'm the director of Beaver baseball development. I prioritize in mental skills with our team. I do alumni reach out, and then I coordinate all of our camps. And then also being able to partner with the Athlete Lab, doing their mental performance sector topics pertaining to mental training across various sports.
Awesome. Again, if you haven't started watching the video series, hop on it, because as you all know, you progress every rung up the ladder you go in sport. Everybody's good. Everybody's competitive. The mental side of sport and your ability to perform there is what's going to help separate you. The thing I love the most about what Zak brings to the table is sport is our vehicle that we're talking through, that we're teaching through, but this applies to life. So it doesn't matter if you're talking about your schoolwork, you're talking about your sport, or you're talking about post-athletic career, whatever that may be. So taking care of that work is really important. It's a chance to elevate your game. I want to kick this off with, well, one, I got a personal question for you. Why did you want to join the Athlete Lab? What did you see in us to make you go, yeah, that's something I want to be part of?
Man, I think the big thing that stood out was, one, the relationship that we've built, right? I love what you stand for. You have built this performance lab for the best interest of the kids that are utilizing it. It's not ego driven. You are obsessed with the detail, you are organized, and you're willing to do anything it takes to better the individuals that come into your space. So I'm all in on that.
That is why we work well together, man. That's awesome, because the detail side of what you do is part of what makes you so great, amongst many things. So we appreciate that, and I hope all of our members do too. So we're just going to do a couple, I'm going to bounce a couple questions off Zak, but these stem from a lot of questions I field, whether it be from parents of our athletes or athletes themselves. But the first one that I want to hit on is there's probably a million ways you can answer this, but it's looking at your job with Beaver baseball, and it could be any university in the country right now, but the game has changed with what the rules around transfers, and what that means for high school athletes and even younger kids as they're growing into their high school sport and beyond. What are you looking for when it comes to athletes at a high school looking to play college ball? Like, what are you guys recruiting on? Obviously, there's a skill set, baseball specific, but what else?
I think there's this idea, and I know we've talked about it extensively, of, being physical. Like, I think being physical and making sure, but what that means is not just, I'm not lifting or I'm not training to become a bodybuilder and look good.
Yeah.
It's the strength that you build that helps you become a better mover within your sport with what that requires. So for example, baseball, that's a very rotational sport. We want to build rotational strength. And a big thing that comes with that is being able to produce a lot of ground force. And not only the force that you put into the ground, but then also the force that you put getting out of the ground as well. So like that would be a metric that we look for. Another thing, as far as like we want high value, high character individuals. We want individuals that are loyal. We want people in the program that will represent not only the baseball program, but this university well. These are individuals that are trustworthy, right? That are resilient individuals, that we understand that this is a very hard sport, and especially being able to play at this level within the culture of Oregon State and what that stands for, very blue collar, very hardworking. Playing in the Northwest, that's no joke. Long winters, very rainy, especially even throughout the spring. But I also feel like it creates a mold, and it creates this willingness to go out and do whatever it takes to win. And those are the individuals that we want, that are hungry, that want to get after it, that are just exceptional human beings all the way around.
So if you're a listener here, I'm sure you have a follow-up question of going, okay, I'm a high school athlete. I love baseball. I think I'm pretty good. I get positive recognition for my sport. What are the things that they can do to help prepare themselves or make them more appealing to a college scout, whether it be Oregon State or any other program for that matter?
Man, one of the first things that I don't think a lot of people touch on is just organization, being able to structure your life. And what I mean by that is mainly school and training, but like having specific programming, understanding like not only, okay, my end goal is I want to play at the Division 1 level, whatever sport that may be. That's a great aspiration, but until you put like you have intention and you build a plan out of what you're doing day to day, I'm talking like Monday through Sunday, right? Like making sure that I have a plan of attack that I can follow through with that's going to help me obtain that goal. I think the big thing is the little things become the big things. And what I mean by that is going back to the intention piece. It's having the intent, and when you go through your dynamic warm up before a strength session or a speed session, having intent. I talk to our guys like the first goal, the first task at hand is dominate your warm up. And there's a difference. Like anyone can just go through a warm up, but when you go through the warm up to the best of your ability with the intent of I am preparing myself mentally, physically to go out and play the game, whatever sport that is for you, I think that's a small win. And then our goal is we stack small wins. So it goes from the sport like baseball, right? I'll just use that as an example. Dominate the warm up, dominate your catch play routine, dominate your everyday drills in your position group. And then it's a trickle on, right? It's a snowball effect moving into when we're actually performing, because I know that it's pretty black and white. I tell our guys that all the time. It's either I'm prepared, I've had intent in everything that I do, so now I can just use my instincts and trust myself playing the game. Or it's like we know that feeling of, man, I kind of went through it halfway. Like I didn't do everything that I could to prepare myself for this moment, and that will come out eventually. Another way of saying that is like it's just taking it pitch by pitch. Like that is the game. It's like having intent, locking in on the things in my control, my process. We talk about that quite a bit. It's doing that. It's repeating that over and over and over again. Each individual pitch is its own separate unit. One does not affect the other. Our brains like to trick us in the sense of we're either fixated, right, or we're worried about what just happened out of our control, or we're worried about what could happen also out of our control. It creates this dynamic in our head of like, man, it's a lot to, I'm worried about one side or the other, yet that takes me out of being present, being neutral, just being objective, where then I can allow my instincts to take over. Because again, a lot of sports, there's a reactive element to it. So when you think about being the best version of yourself in a reactive sport or a situation, it's making sure that it's like, dude, I'm focused on the things in my control. I'm keeping my thought process very simple. I'm giving my mind the right things to fixate on in that moment so I can go perform to the best of my ability in that game.
I love the simplicity of messages, but that just going one for one, like for me, I'm not playing anymore, but for me to show up every day for these kids, for the athletes I train and coach, and to just go like, all right, let's go one for one. Let's hit this set really well. We'll worry about the next set later, but we got this set in front of us. Let's hammer that one out and do it to the best of our ability. I see when kids do that. I can tell when a kid's going through a movement pattern with intention or someone that's not. And I've watched the development over the course of time, and it's night and day. So for me, the message to our athletes and to the folks we work with is sometimes it's not doing more, but it's what you have in front of you. Doing it to the best of your ability is going to equate to a better end result if you can consistently do that.
100%.
One of the other things you mentioned in there is having a plan. This is another question I field often, or more of a statement, and I hear athletes say all the time, like, I feel like I have too much to do, so I don't know where to begin. I've got school, I've got to worry about my sleep, my nutrition. Then let's just say I'm a position guy. I've got hit, I've got lift, I've got speed work, I've got arm care, all these things, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, how do I carve this off? What's the best way for an athlete to build a plan that they can then execute to reach this end goal?
Yeah, I think everyone knows, or everyone has an idea, I'll say, of the end goal, like what we're talking about. I like working backwards, and something that I've done with our athletes as well. And honestly, as simple as it is, just writing out, like actually creating, you have to create the structure for yourself, because like that structure for you mentally It's just, this is the task at hand, and the mind can handle that because that is what I need to worry about. And this is the moment. That's all that I need to do. And then once I accomplish that task, man, it's on to the next. And then I accomplish that task, and now it's on to the next. And that way of thinking, and especially with the programming of it, it does something for us. That's that long-term dopamine, right? Where it's like, man, when I physically am crossing out something that I accomplished, and that's a win, again, a small win, that now I can just continue to stack these small wins until I eventually reach my end goal. And the point is not how long it takes to reach maybe the lofty goal, right? It's the point that I am putting in the work and continuing to get just like 1% better every single day and having intention in everything that I'm doing, because then I become more aware. And through that process, I begin to really understand who I am as a person.
I saw this visual not too long ago, and I feel like this plays really well into it. There's a picture of someone's goal, and it was a mountain. So it's a slope coming straight down to their starting point. And you can picture that, right? It's really hard to achieve that goal when you're on a hillside. Anytime you fumble, miss a day, make a mistake, have a bad session, it's like a snowball rolling down the hill. And then the next slide over is like, what if that same goal is up there in the same starting point, but it's a staircase? And so now all of a sudden I can check off these small wins and go, okay, my end goal might be, let's say I want to be a big leaguer. Great, that's a big lofty goal. Not many people get to do that. But you can create a plan to give yourself the best chance to get there. Doesn't guarantee it. But if you don't create that plan, it turns into that slope where now when I slip and fall, I'm all the way back in the beginning, instead of just going, oh, I maybe just took one step back, but I can still work with this. I know what I'm doing. So to me, I like that idea that Zach brings up. I'm like, hey, let's look at each opportunity as a small win, whether it's checking a box and I completed my lift, completed my homework, whatever it may be, but celebrate those small wins instead of only being fixated on that ultimate goal and never being satisfied until you get there. It's got to be small wins along the way to create that motivation and keep you showing up every day.
Well, goal setting for us is huge. They're called man development plans within our program. These are actually laid out into, I'm going to say 4 to 5 separate buckets. And for example, like your studies would be one bucket, so school, right?
Yeah.
You have your social life would be another bucket. You have maybe your strength programming or speed training would be another bucket. And then maybe like your on field, right, would be a bucket just pertaining to your sport. And then we have goals within each of those buckets that kind of directly fall into that bucket. And then it's breaking down like what we were just talking about, small steps to take each and every day. Something as simple, maybe someone for a strength goal, right? That they need mobility. That's something that they can lock in on a mobility session. And it's like, now it's not just like, okay, I have the session or I have the mobility work, but it's being able to do that on specific days during the week around your strength program, where it's like it's implemented throughout a 30-day stretch, and then it's reevaluated after the 30 days. And then you're going through each of those 5 buckets again, understand like where I'm at currently, and then you can either have the same goals, maybe it takes a little bit longer, or maybe I accomplished that goal in that bucket, and now I can set a new goal.
Shifting gears a little bit, I noticed on one of your boards, the first metric for each person on their lift was not how much weight they moved; it was how much force did they produce. Do you have any insight into why that matters for your players?
So 2 things I think from, again, my understanding, not a strength coach, right? But understanding how good of a mover that individual is pertaining to what the sport demands. I think that is extremely powerful. And again, we were talking baseball rotational sport, right? A part of being a good rotational athlete is being able to not only put force into the ground, like we were talking about earlier, but also being able to get force out of the ground as well, to be able to transfer that energy to whether you're throwing, whether you're hitting, whatever it may be. And then I would say the other side of it, like for in season, for example, force output numbers, so we can dial in our athletes as far as the demands from the week for our starting pitcher, for example, so we can really critique their workload. And I think that has been huge for us in keeping our guys healthy, keeping joints, keeping ligaments healthy, making sure that they're ready to perform and their central nervous system is firing on all cylinders for the task at hand.
That's something that gets me really excited, is that's what all of you that train with us know, that is our primary focal point is our force output. It doesn't always mean, like, yes, we still want to overload the body. We want to stress the body. We want to build
course.
absolute strength. But we also want to make sure that you're not just getting strong in the gym. You're a great lifter. We want you to be a great athlete. And, here at Oregon State, that's something they focus on as well. You look at any big league club, I'm sure most of them are focused on that as well. So for all these kids that are training with us, if you guys are lucky enough to come to Oregon State and play ball, you're going to have a leg up. You're going to go, oh, I'm already comfortable with this. I know what it looks like to try to produce as much force as I can, not just lift a set amount of weight. So I get really excited when I see that stuff when I come visit a place like OSU, and I get to see how their coaching staff is getting after it. And it is a really nice parallel to what we're doing in the lab.